Hello IP6 and welcome to this week's health class. Teacher Dennis here. Okay, so I hope you completed all your homework from last week. It might have felt like a lot of work, but it was just copying from the book. So it's just to help you understand what we have been covering. So there's one last part that we need to cover on the reproductive system, and that is fertilization. So I talked about fertilization last week, but we'll go into more detail exactly what fertilization is. So if you can open your books on page 5, please, we will continue with fertilization. Okay, so please follow whilst I read. When a male places his sperm in the vagina of a female, the sperms move into the uterus and then along the fallopian tube. One of the sperms fuses with an ovum if it is present. This process, whereby a sperm fuses with an ovum, is known as fertilization. The fertilized ovum then grows in the female uterus to become a baby. Okay, so let's just break that down a little bit. So after a male has placed the sperm into the vagina, it then makes its way through the reproductive system, which we covered last week. So it goes into the uterus and then through the fallopian tubes, and finally it fertilizes, or it connects with the ovum or the egg. So once fertilized, the egg then begins to develop and grow into a baby. Okay, so that is what fertilization is. When the sperm and the ovum fuse together or fertilize with each other, and that then allows it to develop into a baby. Okay, so keeping our reproductive system healthy. So these are things that we need to do to make sure that we have a healthy reproductive system so that you can have children, both male and females, okay? So the first point, change your underwear daily. Wear clean, dry, and loose underwear. So this is something you should do every day anyway. But by keeping our underwear, by wearing clean underwear every day, we keep our reproductive system healthy so that no germs can get inside and cause infections. Have a healthy diet. So as you've learned, for all of your systems, your digestive system, excretory system, your heart, your internal organs, external organs, all of this depends on having a healthy diet to maintain clean systems, okay? You should exercise regularly, just like the other systems. Get enough sleep, just like the other systems. Manage stress in healthy ways. Stress plays a major part in the health of our reproductive system. Stress can cause you to stress can cause lots of kind of different problems within our reproductive system. So it's important that if you are stressed, you find ways to maintain that stress and reduce it. Maintain a healthy mind. So believe it or not, your mental capacity actually plays a part in your reproductive system, and that goes back to the stress as well, okay? Seek medical advice when you get itchy or burning sensations in the groin area. So if ever in your groin area, in the pubic area, you ever have it ever becomes itchy, or when you go to the bathroom that you get burning sensations, you should seek medical advice immediately. And replace your pads or tampons every 3 to 4 hours when experiencing menstruation. So this is for girls. When you're going through the menstrual cycle, you should replace your pads or tampons every 3 to 4 hours to maintain a healthy reproductive system. Okay? All right, so that is the reproductive system. And in your books, just before, there are 2 questions there that you need to answer. Okay, so please make sure you put them into your copybooks, okay, into your health copybooks. There are some very simple exercises which you've already completed, so you just need to fill in the correct terms with correct terms in the pages. Okay, so that's page 6 And now we go to page 6 and 7, sorry. So now we are going to go and move on to the circulatory system. So this is the next system that we are learning. The last one was the reproductive system. This one is the circulatory system. Okay, and the circulatory system is basically how blood travels through our bodies. Okay, so page 8 now. Okay, so we're going to skip to page 8. The circulatory system is a system that delivers nutrients, oxygen, and water to all the cells in our body and removes waste materials from our body. Okay, so circulatory system delivers nutrients, oxygen, and water. Okay, so we know that these are very, very important to maintaining healthy systems throughout our body. And it also helps remove waste from our body. Okay, the excretory system. Okay, so there's an image there that shows you the blood supply to the arms, where it comes from, the blood supply to the brain, which all comes from the heart, obviously, the blood supply to the lungs, and the blood supply to the legs. Okay, so you don't need to draw that image. Just try to look at it and familiarize yourself with it. Okay. Main structures of the circulatory system. There are 3 main structures in our circulatory system. They are the blood vessels, and heart. Okay, so you need to remember those 3 systems. Okay, those 3 structures of the circulatory system: blood vessels, and heart. Okay, blood. Blood consists of a fluid called plasma, blood cells, and platelets. Okay, plasma, blood cells, and platelets. It's important to remember. There are 2 types of blood cells: red blood cells and white blood cells. Okay, so if you get asked a question in your exams about blood, you're going to have to remember plasma, blood cells, and platelets, and the 2 different types of blood cells: red blood cells and white blood cells. Okay, and there is a picture that shows you the white blood cells, which is very obvious, the red blood cells, which are very obvious, and then the platelets that surround those cells. Okay, so you have some questions here. What is the circulatory system? Very easy to answer. What are the 3 main structures to the circulatory system? Again, very easy to answer. It's all there. What does blood consist of? I just said those. And what are the 2 types of blood cells? Very, very easy. So all the questions that are at the side of the PowerPoint, the side of the pages of the book, these are the type of questions that you will be asked in your exams. Okay, so it's important that you write down these questions, answer them correctly, so that whenever you are revising, you can just refer to your copybooks. Okay. All right, let's move on to the next page. Okay, so the second one is blood vessels. Okay, so we had blood and then blood vessels, the second structure. Blood vessels can be categorized into 3 types. Arteries deliver oxygenated blood from the heart to the other parts of the body. Okay, so arteries, if you hear people talking about arteries, the artery is very important as it delivers oxygenated blood. Okay, that's blood with oxygen in it, from the heart to other parts of the body. Then you have capillaries, are the smallest blood vessels that connect arteries and veins. So remember, capillaries are a piece of vein that connects blood vessels and arteries. Okay. Then you have veins. Veins carry deoxygenated blood from other parts of the body to the heart. So deoxygenated means without oxygen. Okay. So the artery delivers oxygenated blood, and the veins carry deoxygenated blood. Okay, so they're just important to remember. The heart is one of the main, that's blood vessels. So on the 3rd structure then is the heart. Okay, the 3rd structure of the circulatory system, and that is the heart. The heart is one of the main organs of the circulatory system. It is composed of cardiac muscles, and it is responsible for pumping blood to the whole body. The human heart is divided into 4 chambers. Okay, so I'm going to read through the different parts of the heart, the 4 different chambers and what they do. This is a question that will always come up in the exams. What are the 4 chambers of the heart and what do they do? So this is important to remember. One of your questions here is to draw the image and include the different chambers and their functions. Their functions means what do they do? So it's important that you remember what these are and that you learn the different chambers and their functions. You will definitely get asked this in your exams. Okay, so the first one is the left atrium. The left atrium. This is the top left-hand corner of your heart, okay? Or the top left-hand chamber of your heart. The left atrium receives oxygenated blood from the lungs and delivers the blood to the left ventricle, okay? Then you have the left ventricle, which pumps the oxygenated blood out of the body. Very important to remember. It pumps oxygenated blood with oxygen in it, out of the body. Out of the heart into the body. So that's the left atrium and the left ventricle. So you'll have to remember that the atrium are the top chambers and the ventricles are the bottom chambers. If you can remember that, it should be easy to remember exactly where each atrium and ventricle is. Then we have the right atrium, and that receives deoxygenated blood, so blood with no oxygen in it, from the body and delivers the blood to the right ventricle. So this is the opposite to the left-hand side. The left-hand side pumps oxygenated blood out to the body, and the right-hand side takes deoxygenated blood into the body, from the body into the heart. And then the right ventricle pumps the deoxygenated blood to the lungs. And if you can remember about lungs, when we exhale carbon dioxide, and that is deoxygenated blood, the deoxygenized air coming out of our lungs, out of our body. Okay, so let's just have a look at that again. What are the 4 chambers of the heart? You have the left atrium, you have the left ventricle, you have the right atrium, and the right ventricle. Now, something I just want to remind you that if you're looking at this image, it is the opposite way round from what you are looking. So where it says left atrium, it's on your right hand side because you are looking at it. But if you turn your body around, you will notice then that the left hand side is on your left hand side and the right hand side on your right hand side. So don't get confused by where the left atrium is and the right atrium is just because you are looking at the picture, okay? So really important to remember, people get confused every single exam because they look at the picture and they say, oh, right hand side, right atrium, right ventricle, left hand side, left atrium, left ventricle, but then they end up getting it wrong because the heart is the other way around, okay? It's looking at us. It's not at the same way as us looking at the picture. Please try to remember that. Okay, so the left atrium receives oxygenated blood. So when you breathe in, that's where we breathe in the air. So breathe in oxygen. So oxygenated blood then goes into the heart. And then the left ventricle pumps the oxygenated blood out from the heart into the body. And then the right atrium receives deoxygenated blood from the body and delivers blood to the right ventricle. So the deoxygenated blood goes into the right ventricle, and then that deoxygenated blood is pumped to the lungs to help us breathe out. Okay? That's what you need to remember about the heart. Okay? All right. So please don't forget to do answer the questions on the side of that page. And then finally, you have the blood flow in the circulatory system. So this is important as well. This is a question or an image you might ask, please fill in the missing words. So remember, where are the lungs? Where is the heart? And what direction is the flow. Okay, so as you see, the lungs goes out from the left, goes into the left chambers of the heart. That goes around the whole body, back into the right chambers, and then back up to the lungs. Important to try and remember that. Okay, so like everything else, we need to keep our systems healthy. So this is the circulatory system. Eat healthy food, drink plenty of water, and reduce your intake of fatty and high cholesterol food. So this is something all systems have in common, just like the reproductive system or your digestive system or excretory system. Exercise regularly, same as always. Get enough sleep, same as always. And avoid stress and stay positive. So again, like your reproductive system, stress plays a massive part of your circulatory system. So it's important to reduce the amount of stress that you have and know how to control it, okay? And finally, go for a health checkup annually. Seek medical advice whenever you feel unwell. So most people will go to see a doctor at least once per year, but if you have gone a whole year without getting sick, you should still go to the doctor just to get a checkup so that they can tell you that everything is okay. All right? Very, very important that we always look after and maintain all of our systems, make sure that all of our body is working correctly. All right? So that is all for this week's class. Please make sure that you answer all the questions. This is your homework, and when we go back to class in a couple of weeks' time, we will go through all of these again to make sure that you have understanding of them. But it's important that you answer all of these questions week by week so that you have a good idea and understanding of all of these different systems that we are learning. So there's a lot of work, but it is important that you learn them and answer the questions correctly. Okay? That's all for this week. Thank you very much, IP6, and see you again next week.